In this edition of INN CEO Talks, I'm joined by Michael Rowley of Stillwater Critical Minerals, and we're talking about critical battery metals. Michael, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
These critical battery metals are becoming even more critical and fundamentally important to governments in the United States, Australia, Europe, and so on, and particularly in the United States where your mine site is. Let's give a little bit of an overview about how important it is that these metals be discovered, mined, and secured for domestic production.
Sure. Globally, countries are recognizing critical minerals now, and the U.S. relatively late to that party, but have woken up very quickly, $2.8 billion in recent funding to secure domestic supplies. Why are they looking to secure domestic supplies? They're recognizing that the great majority of the listed minerals, I believe the list is now dozens long, are sourced overseas, and there's exposure in that. And in fact, China, Russia, these countries that are can no longer be assumed to be friendly, let's put it that way, are the majority of supply. The U.S. has great geology, especially where we are, and there's good reason to advance those domestically.
It's my understanding that the United States is now estimated to be at least 20 years behind, and closing that gap could take close to 20 years. Like, it's not like you can say, okay, we're just going to turn on the tap and do it, because as we know, mine development takes time. And so it's really, really important that anything that is already in those early stages of confirmation be, consolidated and accelerated towards production.
Definitely. So your focus should be on mineral-rich districts like Stillwater, where we are. World-class geology, right? 100 million ounces already there in our neighbors' deposits. And then the ability to fast-track a mine, as you note. There are 3 mines and a smelter already in our district, and our ground was producing 100 years ago. So this is a place that you can accelerate production. Our neighbor is actually mining underground about 2 kilometers away from us. So if you really want to fast-track, this is a district that you can look at that.
So for viewers who don't know where that district is, where is it?
We're in south central Montana, Stillwater Complex, Stillwater District. This is rare and beautiful geology on a global scale. It's a layered magmatic intrusion, and it's on the top 10 list, biggest in the world. Most significantly, it's the biggest in the Western Hemisphere by far.
This is the region.
Yes,
you're talking
the
about.
Full Stillwater complex, about 40 kilometers by 8 kilometers on surface, and we have about half of that. We share that with
You have half of it?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so this is a significant discovery.
Yeah, a third in terms of surface area, half in terms of sharing it with Sibanye-Stillwater, a multi-billion-dollar major global producer.
So where are you at as far as confirming the resource, moving towards production? Where are you at in that scale? Because it does take time.
It does take time. We are nicely just beginning that Lassonde curve, that famous curve of adding value in these mining stocks. We debuted our first resource a year ago, 1.1 billion pounds nickel, copper, cobalt, 2.4 million ounces of platinum group metals and gold. We've got a healthy increase to that already essentially done, in the works now for finalization, and that'll be out later this year. That's exciting to us, and that's a major catalyst. This is a big system, and we can add a lot of value doing 100-meter step-outs to the existing deposits and growing it.
So when I look at your information, I see half the periodic table there, it seems. What critical metals in particular are at the top of your list?
That's a very good question. And the resource last year was focused on nickel being the first value, 42%, I believe, in the prices used in that study. It might even be closer to 50% on current prices. Palladium is second, copper, cobalt third and fourth, and then down the list through gold, rhodium, and platinum.
All very significant and important metals.
All listed as critical. Key point, 8 of them, 8 of our commodities have been listed as critical by the USGS, and we're partnered with them on this project.
Yeah, critical for a couple of reasons. One, critical, we need them, and also essential as we move to a more electrified world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you've heard Robert Friedland talk about the infrastructure in the U.S., the urgent need for more copper there, nickel for batteries, of course. Platinum for fuel cells and the green production of hydrogen. These are essential, and we can't source them overseas.
Why is it important that we guard against, international supply and focus on domestic supply?
Well, the term we see in the media is the weaponization of commodities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reality that 100% of our graphite is processed in China, 68% of nickel, 73% of cobalt. Chip supply, largely from Taiwan. Why are we frantically building chip plants in North America suddenly now? Because we recognize that exposure. The same is true of these metals.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot rely on international sources. There is exposure there. The U.S.'s definition of critical commodity centers on economic and security concerns.
So what's your long-term plan? Do you and your team envision building this out, or are you going to vend in with the major, especially based on the scale that you're looking at?
We have the attention of majors. We
Yeah.
actually have several under non-disclosure agreements right now. We've had good interest in the project and even some verbal offers. We see a lot of value that we can add, and that's obviously what we want to bring more of that on the table. When we see the right deal, essentially we'll take it. This project is worthy of a major. It looks like $1 billion asset. That's obviously a very forward-looking statement, but we have 5 deposits across 9 kilometers, set within 32 kilometers that's all mineralized. So this looks truly world-class, and that's where a major partner would be a great benefit. If Elon Musk or Volkswagen or Ford want to build a mine with us, I'm certain we could find the people as well.
Mm-hmm.
The most likely avenue, as you well know from the junior mining space, is vend out to a major at some point.
But you've already had offers, but you've turned them down.
We-
That's unusual.
Yeah, these were project deal structures,
Yeah.
and they typically don't add a lot of value for shareholders. We also see a lot that we can do, is the other side of that decision. Just continuing to do our own drill programs and keep 100% ownership, which we have. So it's not the right market right now necessarily. Share prices aren't where we think they should be. And we can add value with the drill bits.
So what's your message to potential investors right at the moment? They're going to be looking at you going, you've turned down the interest from majors, and so there's still an opportunity for me. How do you characterize what that opportunity is?
Well, this right now certainly looks like a bottom. I mean, we're trading at 17 cents Canadian today, which is below when we debuted that resource last year.
Yeah.
That's not unique to us. The entire sector is down. Juniors never got the lift that they really could have got. They never followed the majors and the commodities up last year. So there's a lot of value just there. Then you add to that the fact we've successfully sold our Ontario Gold project. We're getting value from that. The bigger resource that's coming, improving market, end of possibly tax loss selling and a more receptive market. Plus just the sheer amount of mineralization in the Stillwater complex. There's a lot of value we can add here.
Okay, so it's November 2022 right now. When can we expect to hear more news from you? Like, what are you doing right now that's going to be producing more news in the next quarter?
A key event this year has been bringing these guys in from Ivanhoe's Platte Reef project. So their former chief geologist, Dr. Danny Grobler, joined us back in April. I had the pleasure of spending the summer with him in Montana looking at the core, and that is truly groundbreaking stuff. We have the dream team. Decades of experience locally with our original team complemented with these 2 guys from Ivanhoe. That Platte Reef connection is very real in what we do when you look at our deck and our technical materials. That's a key first piece. Second piece would be upcoming drill results. The rhodium results that we've been waiting for are in, and we're drafting them into a news release. That will be out in the coming weeks, and we'll retell the whole story in that context, I think in a more receptive market. From there, Heritage Mining is going to make payments on the Ontario project.
Mm-hmm.
That's expected, but that looks like they're on track, and that's good news. And then that bigger resource will be the biggest catalyst. And that, I think, is late December, early January timing.
So you're going to come back in January and give us an update, because I think a lot of people will right now, listening to our interview, go, okay, I want to know more. I hope that you will come back and give us updates, because it sounds very exciting.
I'd be glad to. It's an exciting story. It's what I do full time. I love it.
Yeah.
It's frankly great fun.
Well, wonderful. Thanks for coming in and piquing our interest.
Glad to do it. Glad to be back too.